Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Must See TV here on Monday night with the Hudson Valley Squares. We've got the returning crew. We've got Sydney Taylor, Ryan Scow, Chris Allo is our center square tonight, Butch Jones, Steve Keeler, and special guest tonight, we've got Martin Popoff and Luis Nasser. What's happening, everybody?
How's it going?
Hey.
We got a night of Deep Purple here. So we're going to kind of continue our theme from the last episode. And we're taking a look at two like one and done lineups, one and done albums, except this time it's by a single band. So Deep Purple, everybody loves Deep Purple, right? They had two instances in their career where they had one lineup that only released one album. One came out in 1975. Richie Blackmore left the band, was replaced by Tommy Bolin on guitar. He joined the Mark III album, now Mark IV, of Glenn Hughes, David Coverdale, John Lord, and Ian Pace for the album Come Taste the Band. And then in 1990, we've got a guy named Joe Lynn Turner, who used to play in Rainbow with Richie Blackmore and Roger Glover. He replaced Ian Gillan, joining the rest of the crew for the album Slaves and Masters in 1990. So we're going to go Mr. Keeler, Mr. Jones, Mr. Popoff, Mr. Allo, Mr. Scow, Ms. Taylor, Mr. Nasser, and then myself. So everybody, what do you like about these albums? What don't you like about them? Do you think the lineup should have continued? Would it have continued? And which one you like better? So, Steve, what do you got for us here?
And you put me into the fire early here tonight.
Right off the bat, Steve. You don't have to wait around.
I'm getting a shameless plug. I'm enjoying one of the last batch of this rock fantasy beer with some EQ. So I'm having one of those as we decipher this Deep Purple thing tonight.
There you go.
I will have to admit, these are two of the Deep Purple records that I listen to the least. So I'm still doing the show. And of course, 75, we just said the not years. I'll start off with 1990 Slaves and Masters, an album I haven't listened to pretty much since the release. When that came out at Rock Fantasy, of course, it was probably played a handful of times upon its release. But at that time period, I was listening to a different style of things. I love Deep Purple, one of my favorite bands, with Perfect Strangers, and I kind of started losing it on House of the Blue Light. And really, with this album, I just didn't get into it that well. But my highlights on this release are Fire in the Basement, Wicked Ways, the catchy opening track, King of Dreams, Cut Runs Deep. I think it's a decent album, but was totally kind of overlooked by me, and I don't know about everyone else, but it was overlooked by a lot of people. I think just for the time it came out in 1990 wasn't a great time to put out a classic rock album, even with a decent lineup. But I'm going to go with Come Taste the Band. I'm going to pick that one definitely over the other one. It was another album I pretty much overlooked, even back in the day in the 70s. I never had this as a kid growing up. But I consider it kind of a hidden gem with the opener Coming Home. I love the soulful feel to this album and how it almost it turns into like a funk album at times. I feel that this album could be on a soundtrack to something like, it's got that whole 70s feel, of course, but this could be on a soundtrack to any of like a Superfly movie or something, or it has a lot of Soul Train vibes. And I can't go against having Hughes and Coverdale. I'm definitely going to like them better as a vocalist. No offense to Joe Lynn Turner, but I'm going to go with this album for the win. And I totally love the Love Child song. I like how it gets like so funky, like 2 minutes into it this time around. Ode to G, as it goes into that other song, and I'm kind of messing this up because I didn't do really good notes on this, but I'm going with Come Taste the Band. I'm sure Martin and everybody else is going to explain this a little bit better, but I'm going with the 70s Purple, the 90s Purple. All right.
One nothing to Come Taste the Band. Butch, what do you got?
Well, I'm just going for the throat. I am not a big, I want to be nice and say I'm not a big Joe Lynn Turner fan. I really don't like him at all. But so
as Sydney frowns.
Right.
I'm gonna shut up.
The truth hurts. I'm not a fan. I don't like where they were going. Like Steve mentioned, it was the 90s, so they were trying to adjust a little bit and try to be as relevant as they could. I don't like the sound of the record. I don't like the songs. Blackmore's Blackmore, so he does his thing. But would I have wished that they did another record? No. Going with Come Taste the Band, a record that I love very, very, very much. Tommy Bolin is just absolutely fantastic. And to me, it works a lot because he didn't try to be Richie Blackmore. He was just being Tommy Bolin. And Tommy Bolin had done a lot of recording by that time that people don't really realize. The guy died at 25 years old and had a shit ton of records that he had been on up to that. So he did a lot of work, and he had his own voice, his own style. To me, Come Taste the Band was now Coverdale and Hughes's band. Like Steve said, the funk element, which is all Hughes, came in a lot more. I know him and DC are both soul guys, so they were able to do that. But having Bolin involved with the riff and Love Child is just killer. You Keep My Moving is just phenomenal. It's just, like you said, it's a hidden gem that I think people just seem to forget about because it was the end and it was a crash and burn end. But the record itself, I think, is excellent. Some great songs on that record. And Tommy Bolin has a great guitar performance. So for me, it's very, very simple. I did actually, I'll be honest with you, I never had any interest in listening to the other album, ever. But I did listen to it today just so I could say that I actually did. And it was exactly what I expected. So not like it was ever going to sway my opinion anyway. That wasn't possible. But I did listen to it today, and yeah, whatever. Come Taste the Band. Tommy Bolin, that's it.
So I'm amazed. So you didn't listen to it back in the day?
No.
Wow. Okay.
I was, to be honest with you, I was very hesitant when they got back together in '84. I listened. I didn't go. I had friends that went to that tour. I didn't want to go. I wasn't interested. I think that's a great record, but I know I didn't have it then. I got it later on. So, but I like it. But I'll take this over the Comeback record for sure. I still like that better. Yep.
Okay. All right, Come Taste the Band 2, Slaves and Masters 0. Martin, you're gonna sway us in the other direction here.
I think so, but we'll see. Okay, so it's probably a tick off a few people. This and pointedly Butch, because I'm going to disagree with some of the things Butch said here.
Still mad from last week.
What's that? Well, wait 5 more minutes. I think this will usurp that. But okay, so Come Taste the Band. So here we've got Tommy Bolin coming in. It might have been like one member too far. It's the same thing with the Joe Lynn Turner. This is a really neat comparison that way. But here's what I think of this record. I mean, I always thought, kind of in the back of my mind, because I never played it all that much, that it was pretty good. Not as good as Burn, better than Stormbringer, but now I'm almost thinking Stormbringer I like better. Let's talk about Tommy Bolin for a minute here. I think on this record, because I went and checked, and I feel sometimes I'm the only guy who goes and checks, but I went and played all the guitar solos on this record, and they're crap. They're terrible. Coming Home's got a pretty good guitar solo. You Keep On Moving's got also a pretty good guitar solo. The first song, last song, pretty darn good. Cool guitar solos. And the second one kind of cheats a bit because there's some double tracking going on, but his tone is horrible. It's just this crappy mid-range distorted tone. That's one thing. Second, slide playing. Another thing that really drives me crazy is every time somebody plays slide guitar, every one of us always goes, oh my God, some of the greatest slide playing you've ever heard in your life. Who has ever said lousy slide playing, right? This is fairly boring slide playing. He sounds kind of like Dave Peverett, and actually basically sounds like Dave Peverett from Foghat all over this record. So Tommy, I think, is quite overrated on this record. But I love that this album basically sounds like a Whitesnake album. It sounds great that way. I love the vocal performances. I love the production. It's a pretty heavy record. Love Child, I agree with Butch. Amazing song, an absolute classic. I love Coming Home. It's such a cool Whitesnake song. And I love John Lord on this, Andy and Pace. They both do great things. There's a lot of work gone into this record. I don't think it has really any personality from the guitar and the songwriting end of it. And I don't think the songs are that good. I think you have to rate this album at least a 7 out of 10, but I play it like a 5, I would say. So yeah, that's my thing with this. I've never gotten this Tommy Bolin thing. I don't really think much about what he did in James Gang or Zephyr or those 2 fusion solo albums. And like I say, this is the first time I actually went in and played all the solos and go, I got to get this right. And there's not much great soloing on this record. So there you go. The second one, Slaves and Masters, it's almost like responsibly, you got to give it a 7. But I play it like an 8.5. I actually play this album a lot. I love the production. I love the performances on it. I am a Joe Lynn Turner fan. And so this one, oddly, sounds exactly like a Rainbow album. You literally, if I didn't know the players, it just could be the next record after Bent Out of Shape, right? I love King of Dreams. I love the heavy ones on here, Wicked Ways. I love the Paul Rogers kind of vocal on Breakfast in Bed, where he's really, really bad company on that one. I love the arrangements, the sort of pillowy, soft analog production on it. The album didn't do that well at all. Here's the vinyl. And the CD actually has a different running order. Kind of odd. But not a very heavy album. I just find it to be one of those, a little bit like the entire Genesis and Kansas catalog, where I never feel like I have it completely mastered. So I keep going back to it and playing it and liking it all the time. So this is just one of those that I can play often because I love the oddness to it. So I would give both of these albums a 7, but I personally would go 8.5 on Slaves and Masters, and I would go down to a 5 on Come Taste the Band, because I play this record a lot and always like it, and I'm always disappointed when I play Come Taste the Band. So there you go.
Okay, hang on. Hang on.
All right.
First of all, you criticized Tommy Bolin's slide playing, and my friend Mike Strouch, Mike, I know you're watching this right now, and you made the same face I just made when he's just picked on Bolin. So I'm trying to defend you here. You compared Tommy Bolin's slide playing to Lonesome Dave Peverett from Foghat.
Maybe
right?
It's Rod Price, actually.
That exactly.
Rod
This
Price,
is
yeah.
where I'm going. Rod Price, I will tell you this right now, and I've said this forever, is the greatest slide guitar player I've ever seen.
Where are the medium size? Where are the guys in the middle, and where are the lousy guys? No, I've never heard a single answer to that in my life.
I'll give you guys that I don't think are great, but I mean, I'm not even joking. I'm not saying it.
Honestly, name me one guy who's not in the top 10%. I've never heard a single answer to that question.
Nick Martin ain't great.
What's that?
Gilmore. I'm sorry. I'm good, man.
But why is this great slide, really?
No, I want to say you
versus
want
everybody else.
Slide player, David Gilmour. There.
He's what? He's a mediocre slide player.
Yeah, nobody wants to hear him play slide. They want to hear him play comfortably numb.
But every single guy who plays a lot of slide, everybody goes, "Oh my God, it's transcendent. This is just,
you know why?
It's just sending me to heaven."
You know why? Because there's not a lot of slide players. So when someone does it, it stands out.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't stand out on this record.
But I will say this, and I mean this all my being. Rod Price is the greatest slide player I've ever seen in my life, and I've seen a lot of players.
Whatever, man. I know he plays a lot of slide. To me, he's just like every other slide player.
That's
I mean,
fine.
off the top of my head, that would be a good exercise to go actually find the guys that really absolutely like do something super inventive or really, really lyrical or musical, rather than just what we all expect from slide, which is what we always get from slide.
Well, let it be duly noted, in 2 back-to-back episodes, he has killed Cozy Powell, and now he has shot on Rod Price.
Well, technically, Cozy was already dead. So.
Oh.
But honestly, I'd love someone to point out the amazing guitar solos on Come Taste the Band, because I couldn't find them. Like I say, I think they're pretty good on the first song and pretty good on the last.
I find his riffs a little better on this album than solos, but I think the solos are fine. But yeah, I mean, let's be real though. Tommy was pretty compromised by the time he joined.
Yeah.
You know, I think he's done better soloing on other albums. I'll put it to that way.
I bet. I mean, he's got 2 solo albums to his name, right? So
Yeah.
and they're I think they're mostly instrumental, are they not? I mean, you know.
Plus, you know, he was on the Billy Cobham album, which is probably some of his best soloing ever.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Right? Lewis will back me up on that. And
Me
the
too.
Alphonse Mouzon. I mean, that's some prime Tommy Bolin right there.
It's painful tone on this record too with him. I mean, it's just right in that middle crappy.
It's like that was the
same.
tone.
What's
Blackmore
that?
That was Bolin's tone. It was very distinct, but Blackmore didn't have a great tone either, but you knew it was him as soon as he started playing.
Yeah, maybe I'm not talking about tone then. Maybe I'm talking about production. I don't know. I just think he sounds like very faceless, cardboardy, mid-rangey, distorted tone on his guitar
It's
solo.
ice picky.
Ice
It's
picky.
very ice picky.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true.
He's
Yeah.
playing a Stratocaster, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that single coil pickups.
Yeah. Well, whatever you blame, it doesn't sound good.
To you.
All right, we got 2-1 now, still in favor of Come Taste the Band, but we got one for Slaves and Masters, Mr. Allo, or Center Square.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a long time since I heard either record. It's not something, neither was in my rotation. I hooked up with a girl in high school, and her dad's friend left him all these records. So she's like, you could take anything you want. So the only two good records she had were Come Taste the Band and the Dawn of the Dead soundtrack album. But I haven't listened. I have rebought Dawn of the Dead multiple times, but never rebought Come Taste the Band because I didn't really like it that much in the 80s. And I kind of felt, well, Rainbow or Purple, or Deep Purple rather, without Richie Blackmore, I thought was kind of lame. And Slaves and Masters, I guess I looked it up. I did see them on the Slaves and Masters US tour. They played Radio City Music Hall on April 12th, 1991. So apparently that was the last time I heard this record, because me and my buddy Alec went to the show. He didn't have the record, so we played it on the way down. And I always thought it was really weak. I thought it was very disappointing. I do consider myself a Joe Lynn Turner fan. I especially loved the first two records that he did with Rainbow, and Bent Out of Shape, I was never thrilled with it. Although in listening to these two records, I went back and listened to Bent Out of Shape and had a better appreciation for it. But in comparing the two, I still think Slaves and Masters is weak, man. It's like Richie Blackmore wanted to make a Foreigner record or a Survivor record. I mean, I agree with the one thing I would disagree with what that's been said so far, when Butch said that Richie wanted to make Deep Purple relevant. I think he wanted to make Deep Purple relevant if he was trying to be like Mr. and Foreigner and Journey. But man, in 1990, the tides were changing. I think this was totally the wrong record to go with. But I had read recently that he wanted to get the guy from Survivor, and Joe Lynn Turner was choice number 2. So I'm like, holy shit, it would have been even worse with the fucking guy from Survivor. But maybe at least they would have played Eye of the Tiger at the concert.
Jimmy had a great voice. I don't know what you're talking about.
I just think Slaves and Masters is weak as shit. But the show really was good. I remember they opened up with Burn, and they did Black Knight, and I remember they did Hey Joe, so they pulled out a couple really good ones. But you know, in re-listening to Come Taste the Band, I really like it. I think I'm going to order the CD. The most recent pressing I saw was like a 2010 double disc. It had like a bunch of remasters from Kevin Shirley, or remixes, I should say.
A good one.
So
there's
I'm
one
going to
true
go.
bonus track, right? There's a really good Same in LA, that up tempo, your eye heap shuffly sort of song. The vocals aren't in it throughout, but it's actually a pretty cool tune.
And that's on the bonus
well,
version.
it's the one true song they had, anyways. It's probably been on a number of things. Yeah.
So yeah,
And Slow
I'm
Down
definitely
Sister on the other one, just so we don't forget. There was a really cool bonus track for Slaves and Masters too, which is a pretty heavy song. A bit of a Stormbringer riff to it, right?
Well, you know, the funny thing is, I always thought Stormbringer was better than Come Taste the Band, but now I want to go back and listen to Stormbringer again, because maybe my thoughts may have changed on that. But yeah, my vote is definitely for Come Taste the Band. As far as should either lineup have continued, you know, Tommy Bolin was a huge fucking drug addict. while they were on the road with Deep Purple. I mean, I read Glenn Hughes's book. I don't know if anybody else read it, but holy shit, it's amazing that Glenn is still alive, that he didn't die back then. So two guys that were full-blown drug addicts, that band was a fucking mess. Plus, if you've seen any footage of Deep Purple during that like 1975 tour, it looks like nobody has bathed in that band for a fucking month. Like, I don't know what the fuck was going on. You're in one of the biggest bands in the world, David Coverdale. Take a fucking shower. Like, I don't know what was going on, especially considering he was like such a pretty boy 10 years later. But yeah, there's no way they were going to fucking continue. I think the famous story was Coverdale said, whatever their last gig was, he told the manager, I quit the band. And the manager said, what band? Because apparently I think John Lord had already pulled the plug. Yeah. Wow. So they were done anyway. As far as the Slaves and Masters lineup, yeah, I mean, the show was good. I don't care that the record sucked, in my opinion. The show was good. I enjoyed it. I think what I would have loved as a fan is if they did another record and then they played a whole bunch of Rainbow shit, a whole bunch of Joe Lynn Turner era Rainbow stuff, because the irony is that Richie revived Rainbow in the last couple of years. And if anybody's seen the set list, I mean, he hasn't brought it to America, probably never will. Even though he lives in Connecticut, it doesn't make any sense to me. But like half the fucking set is Rainbow, is Deep Purple songs. He's doing like 18 songs and like 9 are purple and 9 are rainbow. So yeah, if would I like to see Joe Lynn Turner version Mark V continue? Sure, and it would have been cool if they went out and did Stone Cold and Street of Dreams and Can't Happen Here and whatever else.
Chris, just one point. Cool. Joe was in the band for 3 or 4 years, and he was actually still in the band when they were starting to work on The Battle Rages On. So he was there a long time.
Yes, correct. It just it didn't make it, I guess. I had read that it was a money thing, and I'm not surprised. And then they did that Battle Rages On, right? And then Richie left not soon after that. So.
And Chris, you don't care if they put out another album. You just want to see another tour.
Yeah. Yeah, I just like concerts. I'm old. I don't give a fuck about records anymore. I just
wants to see Eye of the Tiger.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I mean, what else did Survivor did? I can't hold back. I can't hold back. Right? They could do that one. I don't know any other Survivor. Do I know any more Survivor songs?
You know Burning Heart from Rocky IV, Chris.
Yeah, it's Eye of the Tiger. Right, that song.
With a Burning Heart. Yeah.
Burning Heart. That's right. Yeah, then they can bring out Drago during the fucking.
That montage.
That's right. And the robot. I love that robot.
Oh yeah, Paulie's robot.
Convincingly,
Survivor.
A mashup of Eye of the Tiger and Space Trucking.
Oh, there you go.
I like Lewis. I like your thinking, my man.
That's quite a medley. I'd like to hear that medley.
Yeah, that's the sort of thing that Deep Purple could have easily done.
Yeah, a friend of mine just went to Glenn Hughes' 70th birthday party. I believe it was at somewhere in Hollywood and LA.
It's a freak of nature, that guy.
Oh, unbelievable.
Chris Kishka was there. Chris Kishka's watching the show now. He's been talking.
Oh, hey, Chris. I owe him a text or something.
What's up, Chris?
Chris was at the Glenn Hughes birthday bash a few weeks ago. So.
I'm seeing the Dead Daisies on Saturday, and I'm so excited.
Nice.
Oh, cool. That's awesome. And in Philly?
They're playing Vineland, New Jersey, which is like 45 minutes away.
Very cool.
Smallish theater. I think it's like the cap is like $750. But I'm excited. The new Dead Daisies record's freaking awesome. I think I've said that before on here, but it's amazing.
It's good stuff.
It is.
He is a freak of nature for sure. Like, considering the amount of drugs that guy did, how is it possible that he could still sound that good?
Yeah.
He's a feat of nature.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. So what are we at? 3-1. Ryan, what do you got?
You know what? I kind of had a Chris experience on this. Well, I'll say when I was a wee little lad, just getting into 70s music in the 90s, I didn't have anybody to show me the way. So one of the first 70s album I ever bought was Machine Head. So Deep Purple were there for me early on. And you know what though? Unlike say like Sabbath, where I got into all Sabbath stuff, when I got into Deep Purple, I'll be honest, I really just only listened to those Mark II albums, like Fireball, In Rock. It was mostly just Fireball, In Rock, and Machine Head. I don't think I even really heard Who Do We Think We Are until years later. So I didn't explore some of their later stuff until years later, and I got Burn and Stormbringer, and I didn't like him at first because it was like a different sound. It was weird. It was like funkier and stuff. But I came around. I love Burn now. I like Stormbringer a lot. But I didn't listen to Come Taste the Band until a couple of years ago, and I think I only heard Slaves and Masters just a few times before you did this show. So I listened to it a couple times. So I wanted to know what I sound like. I know what I'm talking about here, which I really don't. But I don't know. For me, it's going to be Come Taste the Band too, because I'm going to agree with a lot of the things Chris said and some of the things Martin said too. It's the guitar playing. I mean, I don't know. I'm not, nothing about it really stands out to me. I've always been a Blackmore guy. I love Rainbow. I love a lot of the stuff he did in Deep Purple. So it's the guitar playing. It wasn't. I just didn't make a huge impression on me. But I'm going back and listen to this album. Like, yeah, it's just a good 70s rock album. Like the soulful stuff, the Soul Train stuff, the funky stuff. I don't actually own a copy of it, but I listened to it on YouTube like 10 times. Like, listen to this, and man, I'm gonna have to be like Chris. I'm gonna have to go pick out a copy of it because it really warmed up to it here. As far as the vocals, I think the vocals are fantastic. I'll be honest, I've never been a big Whitesnake fan, so don't dislike them. But it's just like it's one of those bands I just never really fucked around with. But I mean, so when you say like, oh, this sounds like an early Whitesnake album, or early phase of Whitesnake, I don't know, that's lost on me. But this, maybe I should spend a little more time there if that's the case, because this really got to me. But going around the Slaves and Masters, I don't know. As soon as I started listening to this, I went back and dug into it. It had that sound to it, like that kind of that 80s commercial AOR, like you said, Foreigner, Journey. I don't know. I hear that sound and it's like nails on a chalkboard. You go far enough back into the very early 80s, late 70s, I'm kind of okay with it. Like, maybe like trying to think like stuff like April Wine. It's like coming like a little more commercial stuff, but still in that 70s blues. I don't know if I'm making sense with that. But once it kind of gets into the 80s, like the later 80s, I don't know. I can't get into that stuff. And that album, as soon as I heard it, like other than the first song and the last song, it just did nothing for me. Joe's vocals, I don't know. It just kind of all blended together into that like morass of 80s AOR, very mellow albums, very light. Just nothing stood out. I'm listening to it like, this like sounds like something I hear in like the fucking supermarket. I don't know. So for me, it's going to be Come Taste the Band, which thanks to the show, I have a renewed appreciation for, because I mostly just listen to In Rock and Machine Head and Fireball 9 times out of 10. Sometimes I'll throw on Perfect Strangers. I admit most of the later Deep Purple stuff I like, but it's nothing I go to very often other than Perfect Strangers. And actually that last album, Whoosh, I think is really freaking good. So yeah, for me, it's going to be Come Taste the Band. And I'll be honest, I probably will never listen to Slaves and Masters again, because there's just really nothing.
I thought the same thing when I heard it. I'm like, all right, it's been 30 years.
I don't know.
I won't live another 30 years. So this is it. I'm done.
As to the other, because last time I forgot to answer this question, so this time I will. As to if I wanted to see these lineups go on, well, obviously has been said. The Come Taste the Band totally imploded. That lineup was gone. Obviously, Bolin had so many problems that kind of. So that's kind of hard to say, because that terminated the band for so many years. But even though after Slaves and Masters, the Mark II lineup got back together, I think the Battle Rages On fucking sucks. I hate that album. I think it's the worst thing that lineup ever did by a country mile. I do not. I think it's probably the worst Deep Purple album I ever heard. So I'll take Slaves and Masters over that. So maybe it would be better if they went on. Yeah, I don't like Battle Rages On at all. I really think that's a swing and a miss for those guys. So, but I'm definitely going to go with Come Taste the Band in this case.
All righty. 4-1. I think I know which way Cindy's is going to go here. So
I've spent all day preparing to defend this album because I knew that everybody was going to Come Taste the Band. And sometimes I feel like I'm definitely the odd one out in some of my choices, but I'm okay with that. So, I mean, I feel like everybody pretty much hit the nail on top of the head, especially Martin. I feel like with Come Taste the Band, whenever I go after Martin, I'm like, okay, I don't even need to go anymore. He explained everything that I needed to say.
So good, Martin. So good.
So great.
You should write a book or something.
But I mean, I really do agree with the fact that I feel like with Come Taste the Band, maybe like Martin said, it just went one member too far. Because if I'm correct, this is the only record that didn't have Ian Gillan or Richie Blackmore. So I feel like, I don't know, it's still Deep Purple. Obviously, I mean, I love the stuff with David and Glenn. I don't think that an album can be bad having those two people on it, which is why it's so hard for me, because I love their pairing vocally and what they both brought to the band. But I think that this kind of just strayed for me a little too far away from what a Deep Purple album was. And I guess that you could say that a little bit too for Slaves and Masters, of course, but to not have two of those core members, I feel like, that made the band so identifiable in a certain sense, wasn't my favorite. That being said, though, I do think that it is a good record. It is very early Whitesnake. It's funny because a lot of people refer to Slaves and Masters as being like Deep Rainbow, and like this could be White Purple or like Deep Snake too. Like nobody ever says that though about this album. But I think that it could be. It's very reminiscent, like Martin said, of early Whitesnake. Very reminiscent and just very similar. So I really do like the album. I think it's a good listen. It's not a Deep Purple album that I pull out all the time, but I do think that there are some good moments in there. It's a good listen overall. But personally, I'm sure everybody saw this coming. I have to go with Slaves and Masters, and a shout out to Steve, who actually sent me this copy, and I was very happy because I had never found it before, and when I saw it, he posted about it, I was like, I need it. But in a lot of these lists, when I'm like thinking about albums, I mean, a lot of it to me also comes down to my own personal experience listening to the album. And for me, this was a really huge album. When, you know, I love Joe Lynn Turner. I listened to this on repeat for weeks and weeks and weeks when I first discovered it. And to me, when it comes to picking an album, that personal experience plays a lot into which one I think is better or which one I prefer. King of Dreams is, I think, a great melodic rock song. I love Truth Hurts. And even though it's Deep Rainbow, I think that they managed, though, to keep a lot of the Deep Purple-esque vibe to it. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to say it's completely a rainbow record, although it's hard to not have it sound like that, because when you have Ritchie Blackmore and Joe Lynn Turner, their chemistry is there. So it's obviously going to sound similar to their previous work. But I think that they were able to kind of keep the Deep Purple vibe, and Truth Hurts. Love Conquers All, to me, is a really underrated ballad for people who do like ballads. I really love that song. The Cut Runs Deep, Wicked Ways. I don't know. I think that that's a solid record. I love this album. I love Joe Lynn Turner's vocals. He's one of my favorite vocalists. So odds are I will pick him every single time. But yeah, I have to go with Slaves and Masters, and I'm okay with being one of the odd men out tonight.
4-2.
Just another quick point on Spotify. Love Conquers All has 3.4 million Spotify plays, which is way, I think it's multiple times higher than anything else on this album, which means this album is not played very much at all. But yeah, for some reason, Love Conquers All is played a lot. So
wow, over King of Dreams. That's shocking.
Yeah,
That is interesting.
Yeah.
And number 87, hang on. House of Blue Lights went to number 34. This went to number 87. Battle Rages On went to number 192. So it just troubled the bottom of the Billboard charts.
Wow.
Rages On.
I also want to say too that I completely agree with the fact that, like, this album, if this album came out a couple years before, I think that it would have been a really big album. I think the fact that it came out in 1990, I mean, we've talked about it a million times, like that was the end of this kind of music. So I think that if this came out a couple years earlier, when I know kind of Ryan was saying the same thing, like that style of music was more prevalent, I think it could have done better. But I think that, you know, it kind of just hit the wrong time. So
it would have really fit in with around Love at First Sting, right? You know,
yeah,
1983 Scorpions.
Yeah.
All right, 4-2. Still in favor of Come Taste the Band. Lewis, you going to sway it back the other way, or are we going to put the death knell in?
All
this
right.
one here?
So I'm just gonna unload. I am a huge Deep Purple fan, and I started listening to that band with In Rock, which to me is one of the greatest heavy metal / hard rock albums ever made by anyone. It's innovative. It has absolutely no filler. It's a great, masterful piece of work, right? So that to me is my entry point to Deep Purple. Right? Time went on, things changed, and they released a different formula with two very capable singers, two lead vocalists actually. One of them a more bluesy voice, and another with a very high, and they just blend really well. That's one thing that is really notable about the Burn lineup, is that it's not often that you have two really good singers who blend so well. But those two guys really blend excellently, right? And I bought it completely without any hiccup. Like, to me, Burn was immediately one of my favorite albums, right? And I can say the same thing about Come Taste the Band. I love that record. I love the fact that Bolin is not trying to be Blackmore's lick boy or apprentice. He's playing the guitar the way that he plays the guitar. And I love that the record has, I mean, it's been mentioned before, it has a lot of soul, has a lot of funk. It is not overly concerned with a formula. It's just the stuff that these guys are trying to do that interests them at the time, right? And, you know, as been said before, they were pretty much out of their minds on drugs. I mean, the very first track on, Coming Home, that has Bolin playing bass. I have to imagine that is because our friend Hughes was incapacitated in some way, and this guy just stepped in and played his demo, and that's what made it to the record. I am really bad at trivia and knowing all these anecdotes. I don't really know. I can just imagine from my limited experience in studios. This is probably what happened. And nonetheless, they came up with an album that even to this day is just convincingly genuine to me, which is what I is most important in an album, right? I listen to it, and it sounds to me like that is a representation of who they were at that moment, and this is what happened, and it's actually music that I enjoy. And I mean, we can talk about all these tracks: Love Child, You Keep on Moving, even Ode to G, which is like this instrumental thing. It's actually, to me, it works, right? Now, as a Deep Purple fan, I really, really, really hate the fact that Slaves and Masters is a Deep Purple album, because that is not, in my mind, a Deep Purple album. To me, that is a really, transparent effort from Blackmore and trying to make as much money as possible from a brand, but playing the music that he was thinking would get him more commercial appeal. And it has been said before, and if you listen to it closely, the first track on Slaves and Masters, King of Dreams, it is the verses sound very much like the song Urgent by Foreigner, right? It really does. And, you can go through it, right? And you're thinking, wait a minute, Deep Purple is a band that I associated with innovation, with establishing its own sound, its own, and Blackmore, the man in black, suddenly he's interested in charting, and he's interested in making like really friendly radio music. And he's allowing his songs to be produced in this like fluffy environment.
Wait a minute, did you hear Been Out of Shape?
Well, exactly, right? So it's a rainbow album. It's not.
But it wasn't new. That's what I'm saying. It wasn't new. You had already gone into that. I need to make some money.
Exactly, and I never liked those rainbow albums, because for me, rainbow, that's the Dio era. And even though I love Joe Lynn Turner as a singer, I think that he kind of always got, he was at the wrong place at the wrong time too often, unfortunately, right? He never got a real shot at just doing his thing and showing the world what he could do, which I'm sure it could be a lot. He's a phenomenal singer, but he's always been slagged as being somebody else's protege or hired gun in some way. So, I mean, I listened to this album again for the first time in many, many years. I mean, I like the cut runs deep. It finally has a little bit of Hammond, it actually is Deep Purple and not a bunch of really weird, fluffy presets. It has a really nice John Lord solo over the final chorus. But then it has that, and this is gonna piss off some people, but I've always hated that splatty, gated reverb sound of the drums of that era. I hate it. That's not how a drum set sounds, right? And to me, why bother? Why not play a drum machine? If you want to get that sound, at least that's what I respected of Phil Collins. Like the guy said, look, I'm just going to hit this Roland, right? And you're going to like it. And people did, right? So I just think that there's something, deeply dishonest about calling this album Deep Purple in many levels. Has always bothered me. And most of the songs, like Truth Hurts, come on. I mean, that hurts, but you know, not the way that they imply, you know. Love Conquers All has been mentioned before. I don't have anything against ballads per se, but one of the things that I hate is when I buy a new record and I start playing it and I realize I already heard it. Right? I don't need to finish it. I know what's coming next. And that album suffers a lot from that. So for me, it's really no contest. I have to give it to Come Taste the Band. It's a phenomenal record. I am glad that they didn't make another one with Deep Purple under that name. I think it's a testament to just how mellow John Lord was, that he was just like along for the ride through all these various things. But I just never bought it as a Deep Purple album. I just don't, it doesn't do anything for me. And Mr. Blackmore himself, he does his thing up to a point, but he's even reined himself in, right? He's not really playing the way that he plays the guitar, right? It's very meticulously crafted. Everything is very test tubey, and I don't like that. That to me is not Deep Purple, right? Which is sometimes conflict can be a good thing. I think that by the time the Battle Rages On came back, Blackmore was just pissed off 24/7. It was not going to work, and it's not a great album, but I just can't bear to listen to this one. It just sounds like a Rainbow album that was marketed as Deep Purple because they figured it would sell more. And I can't respect it just for that alone, you know. So I have to give it to the Come Taste the Band, which for me is you know, a much better statement. It's too bad that they were so drugged out, because I think that if they had any kind of concepts about rehab and about the fact that rock doesn't have to turn you into an idiot, you know, they could have actually made better music and continued to make music. That it's not that they were making bad music, they just maybe would have been able to make music without being completely hammered all day long. You know, being strung out has done good favors to my record collection, but it's really destructive to the musicians, right? And I do think that another album from the Bolin Purple era could have been interesting. I mean, I just don't know what it would have been. And then we had, of course, the Whitesnake, which I like that era of Whitesnake very much. The transition period before the '87, and they discovered the hairspray, and they discovered shampoo and all the other things. So then everything changed, right? But to me, yeah, definitely Come Taste the Band.
Right, 5-2. Well, yeah. So Come Taste the Band. Actually, back in the day when I first became a Deep Purple fan, I actually kind of ignored that album because, again, as a young guy, big fan of the Mark II era, love the Mark III, you know, but to me, it was all about Blackmore. I kind of ignored Come Taste the Band for a long, long time. Never really had an opinion on it. Just was like, you know, I don't really need that album. That's not really on my radar. But I started to really appreciate that probably like in the 90s. And, you know, at the time I was also getting into a lot of the Tommy Bolin stuff again. Tommy has appeared on, you know, all sorts of different albums. It appeared on a lot of jazz fusion records, was on that first Moxie album, which is terrific. I love the stuff from the James Gang. I think that's a very underrated part of their history. Most people think James Gang, it's like, oh, it's got to be the Joe Walsh albums. But man, the Tommy Bolin albums are really, really good, really strong. And then I started to listen to Come Taste the Band, and I realized that it's basically just an extension of the Stormbringer album, just without Richie. And I think it's a pretty heavy album. You know, Martin mentioned that it's pretty heavy. I'll agree to an extent that the guitar solos are not Tommy's best solos ever. I think he's done better solo work on other albums, but man, there's some great riffing going on here. I love the funky interplay between him and Glenn. You know, Lady Luck, Getting Tighter is such a great song. I was just listening to this before we recorded tonight. Man, Love Child, terrific. Keep on Moving is just emotional and chilling to listen to. And I found that this has become like one of my top favorite Deep Purple albums, like over the years. As I've gotten older, I tend to gravitate towards this even more and more. And, as far as whether this lineup would have or could have continued, obviously not the way things were going in the band. Would it have been nice to have had another record from them? Sure. But by all accounts, a vast majority of the gigs on this tour throughout the world were kind of disastrous. And I think at the end, both Pace and Lord were just kind of like, do we really want to do this anymore? It's kind of gotten a little out of control, which is a shame. I think it's a great record. Butch has mentioned, everybody's mentioned it's soulful. Steve mentioned it's funky, it's rocking. I think everybody on the album anyway is in top form. I like the production of the album. So I dig this a lot. And I like it more as time goes on. So back to this. So I really always liked the Joel and Turner era of Rainbow. Sure, the Dio era is my favorite, but Difficult to Cure, Straight Between the Eyes, love those albums. Love Joe's vocals. I can appreciate that Richie was trying to do something a little different with this era, with that era of Rainbow. Shouldn't say this, but kind of, yes, this. Richie wanted like this kind of foreigner, Bad Company, selling lots of records, touring and filling the big halls. That's what he wanted to do. I get it. And I think that they did some really good stuff in the latter era of Rainbow. My problem with this album, I don't dislike this album. I don't love it. I just have always from day one have had a really hard time calling this Deep Purple because it doesn't sound like a Deep Purple album to me. I don't hear the John Lord I know and love on here. I don't hear the Ian Pace I know and love on here. They sound like they're just kind of along for the ride. Roger's just there. Joe sounds great. He sounds really good on this. Some of the songs are pretty good. Richie is not really writing any good riffs here. He's playing some flashy solos. King of Dreams, I like a lot. Fire in the Basement, I like a lot. Wicked Ways is a terrific song. The rest of it doesn't really do a hell of a lot for me as a Deep Purple album. As a Rainbow album, it's not too bad. I actually kind of like it, but I have just, and Sydney and I were just talking about this over the weekend, I just have had this mental block for all these years, for 30 some odd years. I just have had a hard time accepting this as a Deep Purple album because the band Deep Purple means so much to me. And I have this idea of what Deep Purple should all be, what should be. And I just find like I would much rather listen to any of the Steve Morse era albums any day over this.
Yeah.
I would probably listen to Battle Rages On over this. I still don't dislike this. In fact, like I was listening to this earlier today and I put it in my head. It's like, well, if this was a Rainbow album, what do you think of this album? I like it. But unfortunately, it says Deep Purple on the cover. And I'm like, I can't for the life of me get past that. And I don't.
Where would it have ranked for you in those Joe Lynn Turner albums?
Oh, probably. Well, Straight Between the Eyes is my favorite, then Difficult to Cure. I don't know. I might even like, Bent Out of Shape I like. It's kind of mellow. It's probably either equal with that or just behind it. I don't know. But I still think, compared to Straight and Difficult, it's not quite as good. But Joe sounds great on it. He's a really good singer. I always really liked his voice, but I just don't like this as a Deep Purple album. And I would have rather they have gone with Jamie Jamison as the vocalist from Survivor over Joe. Just my personal opinion, because at least that was something completely different. It's almost like Richie said, well, let's just go the easy route here. And you know what? If that's what you wanted to do, and I've gone on record, such a big deal was made of the Deep Purple reunion for Perfect Strangers, and I was all for it, and I love the album. But man, right after that, I find House of Blue Light really lackluster, and I'm almost thinking, they made a lot of money on that album, that first album and tour, but they should have just kept Rainbow together. And Ian should have stayed in Gillan or stayed in Black Sabbath. You got to wonder like what the world would have been like if some of these things didn't happen, right? And it just seemed to me if Richie was going to go down this road again, he should have just stayed and kept Rainbow going.
Yeah.
So yes, I am going to pick Come Taste the Band for this one. So 6-2.
Were there any rock videos done for Slaves and Masters?
Yeah,
Street of Dreams,
I
right?
remember Street of
Dreams,
not Street of Dreams,
Fire in
King
the
of
Basement?
Dreams. Right, King of Dreams had a
Oh,
video.
King of Dreams, yes.
And Love Conquers All had a video too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I must have missed that.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember that one, but I do remember the other one. Yeah. But the tour was good. I agree with Chris. I was at Radio City as well.
Yeah, it was a great. I sat behind David Rosenthal from Rainbow. I had really good seats.
Wow.
Who opened up?
Oh, Rich Catino's favorite band, Winger, and they sucked.
Oh no, I would never went to that.
Yeah, they were fucking horrible.
You know, that's a good. That's interesting. I think that John Lord plays like David Rosenthal on this record.
Yeah,
interesting.
And
usually a lot of synth tones on here, right? I mean, there's not a lot of Hammond on here,
but not synth tones. You have these crappy
patches and things.
Keyboard, like a proper synth tone requires an octave, a filter, and a fuzz, and then you just change the oscillators and you get a proper synth tone. These are like these. It's almost like a DX7 kind of sounding thing. It's just I don't like it, and I know it has its uses. And some people did some great things with those sounds in New Wave and other things, right? It's just not Deep Purple, man.
Well, I mean, you bring up a good point, Lewis, because I think if this album had the John Lord roaring Hammond organ that we know and love, and Pace was doing some, Pace-like things, I might have changed my tune a little bit. It doesn't sound like a Deep Purple album to me.
Exactly. That was my problem with it. It didn't have the beast that was Purple.
Yeah,
even
I agree with Pete and with you, Lewis, on that completely.
Yeah. It's just so tame.
It was more of an AOR album, and it's where they were heading, and maybe the record company had a little to do with it too at that time.
Yeah, could be. Didn't really work out for him though, unfortunately.
Battle Rages On is much heavier. I mean, that's for sure. Right?
Richie makes a living dressed like a minstrel playing a lute, right?
Yes, now he does.
So it's like. I don't understand. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you guys rate both of these out of 10? Like literally, like just rather than just pick one over the other. What would you actually rate them as?
Yeah. All right, Steve, what would you do?
Oof. Sydney's never going to buy a record from me again, so I can't be too mean. No, I'm Sydney. I'm giving that.
Careful, I won't.
So I'm quiet. Block Sydney so she can't hear me. I'm giving that one. I'm Slaves and Masters getting about a 2 or a 3. I'm with Chris. I may never listen to it again. Not that I think it's a bad record, but it's just something I have so much.
No, you do think it's a bad record.
It's not horrible. I can see some people enjoying it.
I'd rate it a 2 out of 10. It's not a bad record though. I'd rate it a 2 out of 10, but it's not.
I'm trying to be nice to Sydney. If Sydney wasn't on, I could kill it. Butch is not going to be as kind.
I give a shit about being nice. You asked my opinion. I'm not trying to.
I'm not
trying to be nice to
band. I would give it about. I'm not going to roll real high with that either. It's probably a 6 for me. So neither one of them are my favorite Deep Purple. I'll defend House of Blue Light. I like that record. So,
Butch,
2 and 8.
2 and 8. Okay, Martin,
7 and 7.
7 and 7. Chris,
I'd do a 3 and an 8.
Well, Ryan,
I'd have to compare it to. So I'm going to say In Rock's my favorite. So that's a 10 out of 10, just for basis for comparison. So based on that, I'm going to give Come Taste the Band a 7, and Slaves and Masters a 3 out of 10.
Sydney,
I'd probably do Come Taste the Band as a 6 and Slaves and Masters as an 8.
Okay, Lewis.
Come Taste the Band is a solid 8. Slaves and Masters, which, by the way, when you ranked Pete the Deep Purple albums, that was your dead last, also, right? If you remember that, bringing back history, right? I would say it's a 3 or a 2. It's just not good.
I would probably go 8 for Come Taste the Band, and probably a 5 or 6 for Slaves and Masters, something like that. Hard to say.
I hope Sydney still comes to my store.
I mean, this
I
is
think
what
she'll
I
forgive
expected.
you. I think she'll forgive you.
At this point, like going into these, I mean, I think we all know what each of us likes and what each of us don't. And I was planning the entire day. I was like, I'm gonna have to be the one who defends this album because nobody else here is gonna pick it. So
well, you should. All these are subjective calls, right?
Yes, that's what the show's all about. We need if everyone all hated
like the same
album,
thing.
it wouldn't be interesting. Yeah.
It's just for me, when I think of Deep Purple, it's not that.
And it's interesting because for me, I feel like without Richie at least or Ian in some capacity, it doesn't feel like Deep Purple to me. So
And you wouldn't be wrong, because the other three guys that are there from the original lineup, the other four, none of them play like they did in Deep Purple. So they're there, but who knows what kind of drugs they gave them to keep them chilled.
Yeah, it's like they turned John Lord's keyboard off completely.
I think John Lord's pretty darn good on "Come Taste the Band," though. There's a lot of good John Lord on that.
A lot of phaser on his
and Ian. I mean, it's just so well recorded. And they put a lot of work into it. I mean, it's a solid album for sure.
Come Taste the Band sounds more like Deep Purple than the other one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, it's interesting that Martin had the numbers on the sales numbers, because if I remember right, I read that part of the reason Deep Purple management wanted Joe Lynn Turner out was because Slaves and Masters sold so much less than House of Blue Light. But Martin just had the numbers, and Battle Rages On. They bring back Ian Gillan. They do Battle Rages On, and it sells a hell of a lot less than the one with Joe Lynn Turner. So it's like
that album sucks. That's why.
Richie left right away.
I haven't heard that one in 20 years either. So
Richie
Richie
leave shortly thereafter. Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to that one again. I remember that album, but I haven't listened to Battle Rages On it forever
It
either.
was 93. I mean,
You know, it was another time when I was.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that it was based around an anniversary.
Was that it?
Was
Okay.
it not?
Yeah.
I believe that there was an
That I don't remember, but
and that's why they got rid of Joe Lynn Turner, and the management wanted to get Gillan back because it was an anniversary and they were trying to capitalize.
It was based on, according to Joe in said interview when I talked to him, it was something along those lines of like, basically they knew that they were going to bring Ian back, and they didn't tell him until like really late into the process of them basically bringing Ian back. So it was.
I think they had demos of Slaves and Masters with Joe,
Yeah.
Staley, if I remember correctly.
And all of Battle Rages On, the entire thing was recorded except for the vocals, and then
and they basically last minute were like, "Oh yeah, you're not in the band anymore," and he was like, "Nice," and then that was that.
I love how Come Taste the Band. I just love how you could literally spot it in somewhere around North Winds to Trouble to Love Hunter, and you would just think it was a Whitesnake album.
Yeah,
you know,
you're right.
Wild that way.
Another thing on Come Taste the Band, they could have played on Soul Train.
There's a couple tracks.
No,
on
they
there.
could. No,
They could have had them on
that's a
Soul
nice
Train.
thought, though. That couldn't have happened, but that's a nice thought, though.
Yeah,
David Bowie was on Soul Train.
I can't picture that.
Who was on Soul Train?
David Bowie.
Oh, really? For Young
but
Americans era?
that's a little different than.
Yeah, but I mean, it's got that whole 70s funk feel, and
Yeah, just because he's white doesn't mean the same thing. It's not the same.
Not the same, but they could have done like a soundtrack.
So here it'd be like You Keep On Moving or Getting Tighter. Maybe I Need Love. Maybe this time around Ode to G, I guess, right? That's quite a lot of pretty funky stuff on here for sure.
Yeah.
But heavy and funky too, you know, and with a lot of variety as well.
Wouldn't it have been too heavy for Soul Train?
Probably. I'm just.
I would have liked to see that video if that happened.
I would have loved to have seen the reaction of the people in Philadelphia when 5 English guys with long hair came out with Marshalls. I would love to see that reaction of that.
It would be like a lot of those Top of the Pops videos that we saw from back in those
listening
days.
to Don Cornelius throwing it to Deep Purple. I would love it.
Hey, I'm sure now that we could mash that video up and have them playing a song and have the Soul Train dancers in the background. I'm sure.
Oh, yeah, people could do that. Yeah, there's no doubt there's internet savvy.
All these unwashed long-haired rock stars on.
Oh yeah, they look so fucking
Somebody out
dirty.
there has the savvy to make this happen, edit this video together, and I want to see it.
Yeah,
it's like watching some of those 70s videos from some of the hard rock bands that are playing these songs where you think you'd go crazy and the crowd is just sitting there like this.
Motionless, yeah.
There's a Jethro Tull song I was thinking of we were watching where they're going crazy and the crowd's just sitting there like no one's even bobbing their head or nothing. That would be an episode we could do, videos where the crowd had no reaction in the 70s.
No reaction at all.
Going down to their minds.
It's funny how like a couple of us mentioned that some of these two lineups here maybe not traditional Deep Purple, and it's hard to accept it as Deep Purple. But I have seen plenty of people who have commented that the Steve Morse, Don Airey era, they can't accept that. Martin shaking his head, he knows exactly what I'm talking about they can't accept modern Deep Purple as Deep Purple, right?
That's
They got like 8 studio albums or something.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
a lot.
The longest run of any of the lineups. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great
I mean,
stuff,
but that's crazy, right? Because this Slaves and Masters is 80% of the band.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The music is totally not Deep Purple.
Yeah.
And with a new lineup, or the most recent Deep Purple lineup, it's not really new anymore, right?
No.
Yeah.
That is, they have released some kick-ass records. The last
I
3
agree. I love the
awesome,
last couple. I love them.
I mean,
Yeah, I love them.
Whoosh is great. Infinite,
Awesome.
Now What? Those 3, just those. But then you have Abandon. All of them have been, even Bananas, which is not by far their best, has its moments, right? Like when it first came out for me, but then I sort of grew to appreciate it. They're good recorets.
Yeah,
That
that's
one's
something.
got really
Deep
kind of
Purple-
thin production. It's kind of doesn't have a lot of bottom end. It's kind of trebly. Didn't they have like a one-time producer for that one, David Bradford or something like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. But a lot of people can't get past the whole, no Blackmore, no Deep Purple type of thing,
Yeah.
So whatever. Anyway, there you have it, everybody. Come taste the band, Slaves and Masters. Cast your vote in the comments below, or your feedback or your comments. Which one you like better? What do you like about them? What don't you like about them? It's all talking Deep Purple today in these 2 oddball one-off lineups. So I want to thank everybody here for going back and listening to these albums and contributing their opinions. This was fun as always. So thanks. Let's see, what do we got here? Sydney, what's going on? Metal from the Inside.
Same stuff as usual. Not a ton right now. I'm working on some stuff, but I needed to take like another mental break from releasing stuff. I have a new episode coming out on Friday and some other stuff in the works. So stay tuned.
Cool. Martin, what's happening on the martinpopoff.com, Contrarians, all that good stuff?
Nothing much, except for I just got in reprints, which have been out of print for a long time, of the Merciful Fate and the Van Halen. And for some crazy reason, they're selling really well. It's like I thought everybody had all these, but I only got 100 of each one, and they're both about half gone at this point. So that's just in 4 days.
Nice.
So
Very cool. Lewis, what's new on the Sonus Umbra's front?
Well, with Sonus Umbra, we're writing and when I say we, I say me. I don't know what the other guys are doing, but I'm writing for the new record. And we're about to release the tribute for Norm. That's a collection of music from a lot of bands. Uncle Norm, for people who don't know, was a great member of the prog rock community here in the States, and he was well liked in both sides of the Atlantic. He died a few months ago, and I got together a bunch of people to either write or submit songs that were not available anywhere else, so that we could make an album in his honor, and then all the sales could go to the cancer research team that helped treat him all these last years where he was fighting it. So that has been done for a while. I went to Mexico, but now I'm back, and I hope that we can actually have it in production very soon. The music is all finished. I'm just waiting on the art, and I will let you guys know as soon as I have it and how you can get it, and hopefully, support a good cause, because that guy was really special. They don't, he was totally a Chicago guy. He had that whole vibe, and a Polish Chicago guy, no less. And I really miss him. He was a very dear friend. So we have this. That's what I've been working on lately. And the other albums with Luz Arriaga that we're working remotely now. I mean, we finished all the drum and bass tracks, so now we're just waiting for Ramses to do his stuff. So that's what I'm doing.
Looking forward to all that. Steve, how's things going over at Rock Fantasy on the YouTube channel?
The store's open every day, 12 to 7. Myself and one of my friends that's on the channel a lot, Tony Dio, actually interviewed Jizzy Pearl from Jizzy Pearl's Love, Hate, and Quiet Riot last week, and that'll be going up on the channel soon. And we're going to get together this week, and we're going to go down the rabbit hole of Blue Oyster Cult. And Martin's going to be joining me, which is an honor, and Peter and Ryan Scow, and perhaps a few others that still working on putting that together. So that'll probably come out next week. And trying to get the Rock Fantasy Files up and going now that the summer's starting to wind down and fall season's coming in. I was a lot like Sydney. I got totally burned out on it, and everybody else on the channel was doing other things. So I'm trying to get the files back going. Of course, rockfantasy.com still there if you guys want to order a CD or a record or anything like that, or if you're close enough to come visit the shop and check out our pinballs, by all means, please do. And it's an honor being on the show, and it was a lot of fun tonight. I'm sorry that I put down Sydney's record because she was so excited when I got that in. But it's just not my cup of tea. I got my Deep Purple shirt that I got from Bethel Woods when we did the VIP.
There you go.
Nice.
Cool.
No one would meet us, but we got shirts.
As long as you got that shirt, that's all that matters.
That's it.
I'm a
What's going on with Butch?
The whole butcher shop group thing in Facebook, having fun with that. Everyone seems to be mixing it up and posting a lot of stuff. So it's a lot of fun, even though I have to play the policeman most of the time.
You have to.
But it's fun. Tomorrow is Prog Rock Tuesday. So I've been the whole idea with the whole butcher shop thing was to try to make it like a virtual radio station. That's the whole joke of it, is trying to have a segment every day like a radio station would have. So tomorrow is Prog Rock Tuesday. So I'm trying to do some heavier side of prog stuff that I like. So that's that. And then just trying to turn as many people on the Thin Lizzy, one person at a time. That's my goal in life. So that's another thing that the whole butcher shop is about. And on Thursdays we have Thin Lizzy Thursday, so that's always fun too. So and actually I posted some new merch. I designed some new merch this afternoon, so I got some new stuff up. So that's it.
Cool. Instead of the metal shop, it's the butcher shop.
I wish you could sound like Charlie Kendall. He was the greatest.
Yeah.
That was I remember staying up till midnight listening to that way back in the day, right?
With your cassette player, with your fingers on ready to hit.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I didn't do that correctly, but it was more like metal shit.
The only show with teeth.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
He was the greatest, man. Charlie Kendall was awesome.
Are they saying the other shows they didn't have teeth? Like
They were toothless.
That's
They were
right.
toothless.
Kind of like slaves and masters.
Sydney's
Oh,
never
Sydney.
shopping at your store if you open one up.
Yeah, I don't have a store. I'm not trying to sell T-shirts.
Yeah.
Chris, you want to promo Monsters Den for Thursday?
Yes. Thursday night, me and Pete are going to talk about the worst horror movie sequels ever. And holy shit, there's a lot of really bad sequels out there. And my list keeps getting longer and longer. I'm like, holy shit, yeah.
You know what the problem is, Chris? There's so many of them, and so many of them are so bad. I haven't watched them in years, and I'm like, I don't even know if I could talk about them anymore because it's
true.
like I haven't watched them in a million years.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there's so many. Like, I started to think, I'm like, all right, well, there's like, I don't know, like 7 movies in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, and other than the first one, they're all fucking garbage. I mean, they're all terrible.
Thank you, Chris. You finally, I feel the same way. The first one's like my favorite horror movie ever, top 3, and all the sequels are just.
I know a lot of people love the second one, and I played the second one in Hudson Horror, but I fucking hate that movie. I didn't play it for me, and people love it. But hey, I also hate Army of Darkness and Evil Dead. So, but those aren't going to be on my list.
He also never owned Queen Night of the Opera either, guys.
Yeah, or Rumors. I still don't have Rumors. But hey, I bought Slaves and Masters.
Anybody like Godzilla in the Monsters Den?
Oh sure, God, Pete made me watch. Pete made me rewatch the whole fucking series.
It wasn't even.
He made me overdose on Japanese monster movies.
So
we were all fried by the time we got to that one, right?
I'll drop something right here. I'm going to a meeting tomorrow. It's a secret meeting, but it's already been let out. The next Stern pinball machine will be Godzilla.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is it going to have the BOC song?
Picks up a bus and he throws it back down.
I don't know if that's going to happen. We'll find out. It's going to be Godzilla, and it's Toho licensed, and I'm really hoping the promos that they're showing are playing the old Godzilla music. So I'm hoping that it is.
That sounds cool.
You know, we'll see if it's just based on the modern stuff or whether it's old school. I'm kind of hoping for
the old Ifukumi's soundtrack.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the best.
Go Godzilla.
Yeah. So that will be the new Stern pinball, and we will be getting it somehow, even though I don't have any more room for pinball. I have to sell a couple. So.
Steve, you got a little room in the bathroom, just right next to the bathtub. Just
Right,
get it
right
in
over
there.
the-
No, I mean in the store. We don't have a bathtub in the store yet.
You got two
Not yet.
bathrooms.
We got 2 bathrooms though in the store. Yes.
There we go.
Put a pinball in one of them.
There you go. Problem solved.
There you go. Oh, and before I forget, so now that we got them both here, so some of you watching may have caught our new Sunday show, which is called Album Homework Assignment that Sydney appeared in this past Sunday. If you haven't seen that episode, please go check it out. But coming up this Sunday, Mr. Nasser and Mr. Allo are going head to head. They've given each other their albums, their homework assignments. We're not going to reveal what they are. You'll have to wait and see on Sunday, but they've been listening to them all week. And on Sunday, they are going to discuss these assignments and what they liked about them and what they didn't like about them. So that is coming up. And Butch, I need to talk to you and Nick because I want to get you guys going head to head on that as well. So I think everybody wants to see Butch get assigned some crazy black metal album that he probably would never ever listened to in his life. So.
Who else could it be? It has to be.
Yeah, exactly.
One he can't pronounce.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I listened to it all week long. I have no idea what the name of the band is.
No vowels. You're not going to get a single fucking vowel in the name.
Oh my god.
But the whole fun of it is you're gonna have to try to pronounce it
Exactly.
when you're doing it, and we're just gonna it's gonna be whatever you you think it is.
However you want to say it.
The worst part of it, Butch, is when you have to put that CD back on your alphabetized racks and you can't figure out where it goes, and then you'll forget why you put it here, and you got to read the back and the inside. And
That is true because my stuff is definitely in order. That's exactly what it would be.
That actually happened to me, Martin. A student of mine at Columbia gave me a record. He plays in one of these like obscure metal bands, and I don't know what the fucking logo says.
yeah, I know.
And it's not written anywhere on the disc, so I have it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just don't know, and I haven't met him again because he already graduated, so he's gone. So I have this record. It's actually not a bad record, but I couldn't tell you what it's called because it is an eponymous record. So it's the name of the band. That's the name of the record. I have no idea, right?
Yeah.
and it literally doesn't say it anyplace else on the record what the name of the band
No,
is.
it just has the names of the songs, and it
That's
repeats the logo
awesome.
on the inside. So I'm like,
That's good.
The trend with me is I've got a lot of those old promo card sleeves where you can't tell the name of the band on the front, but there's a short bio on the back, and there you could usually see it in normal caps, Helvetica. It's like, but you got to look around a little, and then you're just constantly filing these things and unfiling them and losing them. And
I love that kind of music, and it happens to me like once a month. I'm like, I can't. I got little stacks of CDs that I'm just waiting to refile because I don't want to fucking deal with it.
You going through, you're like, who was this again? Like,
Oh god, and I love that stuff too. It happens to me all the time.
crazy. All right, everybody, there you have it. So Ryan, I'll see you and Steve on Wednesday for the BOC show. Sounds like
Thursday.
fun, and Martin as well. And Martin, Martin Popoff and I will be back on Friday with another edition of Friday Morning at the Funhouse. We are going to be talking about hired guns, some of our favorite hired guns. Yes, those folks that appeared like on every single album known to mankind but never stuck anywhere long enough. So that's what we're going to be talking about on Friday. Like Chris said, Monsters Den on Thursday. Tomorrow in the Prague seat. That's our Tuesday show. Wednesday, What's Hot with Sea of Tranquility. Got some new album reviews for you. And then on Sunday, we've got album homework assignment with Lewis and Chris. So thanks for watching, everybody. Stay tuned next Monday for another edition of the Hudson Valley Squares. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter. Of course, we're here on YouTube all the damn time. For Steve Keeler, Butch Jones, Martin Popoff, Chris Allo, Ryan Scouse, Sydney Taylor, and Luis Nasser, I am Pete Pardo. Good night, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.